on the daily time frame, this looks super clean on the daily time frame. Okay, so what we will be looking for is more pullbacks for the coming weeks, more like a buyback to these zones between. I can bring this down a little bit between the zones of the 4167 ounce, and we'll have a drop to the 4061, and we can go all the way to 3896 to the downside. So Dips at MyFX right here. Welcome back to our usual weekly market forecast. Happy new month once again, guys. So this is our usual weekly market forecast for the week of the 6th to the 10th of July. So it's the first trading week for the month of July, though we had NFP last week and it was all good. We had some pullback on price, and price gave us some pullbacks, and a lot of people, due to the trade cancellation that I sent to you guys, a lot of people were also able to make money, though we did not trade NFP live as I wanted. But regardless, if you had watched our weekly market forecast, you would know the directional bias in which you should be taking trade calls from. So moving forward, we are getting started. So if this is your first time of being to this channel, please do well to smash that subscribe button, encourage us with your comments, and always remember to share our videos. Okay, so let's get over to the business of the day. So we are getting started with gold, XAUSD. So for gold, for last week, we saw that gold open just like as we anticipated. Okay, we had price come into this area and gave us that nice bearish drop, which we had that termination there at the 100% retracement level, which price thereafter gave us something like what's like a triple bottom or a double bottom, a triple bottom actually on the 4-hour time frame. Then we had that pullbacks. Remember last week I told you guys that we are looking for what? For a sell to buy scenarios. Okay, so we are looking for price to buy or a rejections to this first this was our first levels, okay, which is the first level. So actually if you were to sell, you would definitely make money, and if you were to buy too, you will also make money. Why is this so? Because looking left here, you see that failed trajectory that we had was a sell, and thereafter we had this triple bottom in which price gave us before we had that bearish that bullish pullbacks, just like we have seen. And just like I told you guys from the last week video, okay, there is something that I had here which was like a trend line, okay, which I had marked out. Right, so you can see that first touch, second touch, third touch, and now we are having most likely a fourth touch on gold. Okay, so we will most likely be having price drop all the way from these zones. You can see me right sell here, just like is there. Okay, so we may have price drop from the areas of the 4188 all the way to the areas of the 3969 ounce. Okay, so this also matches, technically this also matches with the trend line, the bearish trend line, which is coming all the way from the upside. Okay, but regardless, we have some cause for concern for the coming weeks. Okay, let's look at the weekly time frame, how the weekly time frame actually closed, so I could show you guys the cause for concern in which we have. So we can see for the longest, since the month of May, we have been having more bearish trajectory of price to the downside. Okay, so we haven't had any green candle. Okay, we haven't had any significant green candle since the month of May. So this is the first green candle we are having after some months. Okay, I think like 3 to 4 months now. So this is the first green candle. So price may use this opportunity to give us at least 2 green candles, which is most likely a pullback. All right, more deeper pullbacks to more like 4332 ounce before we may see gold drop from there. So it's a little bit tactical. Okay, you have to be very conservative. And also looking at here on the daily time frame, we also have this first level, which is our best level to take the sales from. So if this level fails, this should be a second level for sales, okay, which is the 4314 to the downside. Okay, so what we are expecting next week is most likely is the sell to buy scenarios, or is the buy to sell scenarios. Okay, so let's look at the 4-hour time frames again. So I could give you guys a 2-way scenarios. All right, we are still going to look at the fundamental side of things to enable price, giving us that price movement. Okay, so we may have this zone shouldn't be nullified. Okay, this zone shouldn't be nullified because price may be as funny as coming to 4115, and thereafter we may have a massive spike to 4306. Okay, so this is why it's very important. Okay, it's very important to mark this on your phone or your trading device. So all what you just have to do is wait for market open and keep your fingers crossed and wait for price to play out before you react. Okay, so that's it for gold. Next is the DXY. So for the DXY for last week, okay, remember the DXY is actually the dollar index. Okay, is the index, average index gauge, in which we use to gauge the overall directional bias for every pair that has the USD or trades against the USD. Okay, so this is why it's always very important that we do analyze the directional bias of the DXY, and if you are able to crack the directional bias of the DXY, you are able to decipher at least 6 to 7 or 8 different pairs. Okay, directional bias. That's why you guys normally see me spend so much time on analyzing the DXY than every other pair, because I know if I get it right, that's me getting over 6 to 8 different pairs right, all from just trading or analyzing the DXY properly. Okay, so here on the 4 hour, okay, nothing much on the 4 hour. Let's go to the daily time frame. Okay, let's check the daily time frame. By looking left here on the daily time frame, we can see price movement. Okay, I'm going to use this so we can see price creating series of highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher low, higher high. This clearly looks like a new higher low in which price wishes to create, and we should be seeing a new higher high on the DXY. So what do we expect? DXY is clearly and calmly seated on these zones. Okay, so the best we could do, you may see some range, okay, maybe some days of range on this 100 points or the $100 zones. Okay, we may see some range right about on that zones. Then before you may see price push all the way to the upside to the 101 points to the upside. Okay, and let's look at the weekly time frame. It's very important to see how the previous weeks closed. Okay, why does this look very, very good for me? Because this also looks like price is giving us what? This is the first time in a long while price has been able to clear. Right, looking left, you can see this resistance here. Right, so this is the first time in a long while price is able to clear these zones of the 100, between the 99 point and the 100 point. So you don't need a soothsayer to tell you that this is a clear break and a retest for a bullish continuation for the DXY. Okay, so we would be having price maybe for 2 weeks. We may have 2 weeks of bearishness. Okay, price will come back deep into these areas before we may have that massive push to the upside, and this is going to be a very, very long one for us. Okay, so this is why it's very important. If you look down here on the weekly time frame, you can see these zones in which I've had it for the past few months. I think since late last year I've had these zones right about here. So we have been expecting this bullishness for the longest because of this triple bottom, this chart pattern. This also looks like a head and shoulders if you are good with your chart pattern. So this is most likely the neckline of this head and shoulder. So we're having price break for the first time, breaking the neck of the head and shoulder. This may not be an easy one for price to move from here, but it will definitely happen. It's just a matter of time. So price breaks there and you should be seeing price push to the upsides from that zone. So, okay, so the best you could do is go to your hourly or your minutes time frame due to the kind of trader in which you are, and look for the best possible areas. Okay, and look for the best possible areas you should be taking your bullish calls from. Okay, so that's it for the DXY. Up next is GBP USD. All right, so here on GBP USD, there was GBP USD clearly altered this area with the help of NFP last week, and we had that massive push to the upsides. So what we could be having, like I said, I'm going to give you guys a two-way scenarios, guys. Okay, we may have price push to this area of the 1.1330. We may have price continue the upsides from there. Let's look at the weekly time frame of what GBP USD looks like on the weekly time frame, to me this looks like something like an arrow block. Okay, though I don't do so much about it, but I know all these strategies and I interchangeably use them sometimes. Okay, so to me this looks like an arrow block that price may wish to react off these zones before that massive drops in which we would have. Okay, so all what I'm going to give you guys is like the two-way scenarios in this case. Okay, I'm going to give you guys the bullish scenarios and bearish scenarios. Okay, so we start from the bearish scenarios since price looks bearish for now. Okay, so we have price react off these minor areas of interest, so we could start having the bearishness to our first level, which is a 1.329. Then we could see price go as deep as 1.319 to the downside. Okay, so that's it for the bearish side. And for the bullish side, you may have price come to this area of the 1.329. Then you may have price go all the way to the upsides to the 1.134. Then we could have price break, retest, and a continuation to the upsides. Okay, so that's it for GBP USD. You got to mark it out on your phone or your trading device. So here on Euro USD, so for Euro USD, price is quite seated on our, still very much on our areas of interest. So I'm going to give you guys bullish and bearish scenarios. Okay, so let's look at the daily time frame, how price looks on the daily time frame. So here on the daily time frame, looking left, okay, looking left, this is very ideal. The price may want to react off these zones. Okay, so we can't write these zones off. This is a daily time frame AOI. So if you have a bearish engulfing candle close somewhere around here, we can take our sales all the way to the 1.132 to the downside. Okay, or there are still other tendencies of price wishing to push more deeper into the second areas of interest, which would also match with our moving average, which is coming all the way from the upside before we may have that drop. Okay, so this is why patience is very important, that we inculcate patience in our trading. Let's also look at the weekly time frame, how price looks on the weekly time frame. Okay, so here on the weekly time frame, we can see that for a very long time, this is the first time price is breaking out of this range. Okay, this range in which we are having here. Okay, and so this is more like the support, which is also the neckline. So it's the best areas to see price to pull back into these areas before we may have that proper massive drop, in which we would have, which should be, let's see how many pips that would be. Okay, so this is about 350 pips plus of sales on Euro USD. Okay, but for now we may still have price push a little bit further to the upsides. Okay, so I'm going to give you guys, I'll keep it at the daily time frame first levels. So we are looking for sales around these areas of the 1.1432. Then we see price drop to the 1.13245. okay, or we could see price go as deep as these other zones, which is the 1.1540, and we should see the drop to the 1.1320. okay, so that's it for Euro USD. Up next is USD CHF. So for USD CHF looks super good. Clean price action, clean chart. All right, we have price, we can see price creating series of highs, lows, moving in a waveform. Just like I always tell you guys, that price does what? Price moves in a wave. Okay, price moves in series of highs, lows, highs, lows, highs. So this could be very nice low, in which we may see price bouncing off this low before a bullish continuations. Okay, but we have to be systematic about it and not just jump in just for any reasons. Okay, let's check the weekly time frame to see how price looks on the weekly time frame. Okay, it's very important. So here on the weekly time frame, we can see that price has broken this resistance, okay, this previous resistance, and slightly above this other resistance too. So it's a no-brainer that we should be having what? A break, a retest on these zones, then a proper continuations to the upside. So this also looks good, and if you look deeply, this also looks like a divergence too for a bullish divergence. Okay, so let's go back to the 4-hour time frame to see if there are possible zones in which I can take trades call from. Okay, let's keep it at the daily time frame. Daily time frame is quite clean, so I'll give you guys only bullish scenarios here on Usdchf because it's more cleaner for the bullish side of things. But if price plays out otherwise, you know how well to react from. So price is already seated on these areas of interest. Okay, these strong areas of interest. So all what you need to see is a bullish engulfing candle to the upside. Then we can take our buys to our first level, which is a 0.8147, or then we can go as high as the 0.8232. Okay, so I'll keep it at that on Usdchf. The last but not the least, Usdjpy. So for Usdjpy, it's been a while we analyzed Usdjpy. Why is this so? It's because price has not been giving us the best of pullbacks on Usdjpy, but right about now we have the best of pullbacks for us to take a trade call. So Usdjpy has been on the bullish trajectory for the longest. Okay, if you look at the bigger time frame since 2025, over a year now, okay, or more, Usdjpy has been on a bullish trajectory. Okay, so if you look at it here on the weekly time frame, price is seated on this resistance. Okay, let's take it to the daily time frame to have a better perspective on things. Okay, so here on the daily time frame, looking left, okay, we can see that price has been bullish and has broken out of this resistance, which is our yellow bar, which we had already marked out right about there. So what this clearly shows us is what a break, a retest, and this is a no-brainer, but a continuation to the upsides. Okay, so all what we need to see for the coming week for Usdjpy is a bounce here, which that has already happened with that bullish engulfing candle, okay, or that doji candle rather, and we should be targeting the 162, and we can go for our next level, which is about a 164 to the upsides. Okay, so the Usdjpy has very low spreads and all. Okay, so you can take your stops. So we can take our buys from here. This is a clean buy for me. This is a very clean buy. Put your stops, target your first level, 100% retracement level, which is over 1:1.56, and over 1:1.3, which is the next level right about there. Okay, so we are still very much bullish on Usdjpy until price shows us otherwise. Okay, so if you have watched this video to this very moment, please do want to smash that subscribe button, like, share, drop a comment on the comment section, and always remember to plan your trades and trade your plan. See you guys in the inner circle. Cheers.